Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply choose to stay still in a world that profits from your distraction, in a world that tells you being busy means being successful, and that noise is somehow a sign of relevance. But the truth is, the quietest people in the room are often the most focused. And focus, real focus, is not a personality trait, it's a spiritual practice. To stay focused in this world, you must first ask yourself, what do I stand for? Not what am I good at? Not what pays the most, but what sets a fire in my soul that even the fiercest wind of distraction cannot put out. When you know your why, you can endure, and how you begin to live, not react. You begin to choose, not just accept. Focus begins with purpose. Because when you're walking towards something sacred, you stop looking side to compare, to compete, to conform. Distraction is clever. It doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like scrolling. Sometimes it looks like trying to please everyone. Sometimes it's dressed up as perfectionism or even productivity. But when you slow down, when you breathe, listen, notice, you begin to recognize what's real and what's noise. And noise cannot guide you. It cannot love you. It cannot lead you into the life you were meant to live. So we must create space, protect it fiercely. Your environment is not neutral. It's either feeding your focus or draining your power. Choose friends, places, and patterns that don't require you to shrink or scatter. Surround yourself with those who remind you of your truth, not your timeline, not your followers, not your resume, but your truth. Still, you will fall. You will wander. You will be tempted by easier paths. But let discipline meet you there, not as punishment, but as a promise you made to yourself. I will not abandon me. Discipline isn't rigidity. It's remembering who you are, what you care about, and why you started. Say no more often, not as rejection, but as redirection. Every no to distraction is a yes to your destiny. Every time you put your phone down, close the tab, leave the room, you are telling the universe, I am ready to rise. I am ready to be here, fully here. And yes, rest, because the world will tell you to hustle, to grind, to outwork the person next to you. But focus is not about outpacing anyone. It's about returning to yourself. You are not a machine. You are art in motion. You need silence. You need sleep. You need grace. Clarity of purpose is the foundation of focus. Without it, we drift easily pulled into distractions that feel urgent but are ultimately meaningless. When you are unclear about what truly matters to you, everything begins to feel equally important, and that confusion becomes the breeding ground for anxiety, procrastination, and burnout. But when your purpose is clear, your energy stops scattering. It begins to gather, to sharpen, to rise. Purpose is not always loud or obvious. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be quiet, gentle, deeply personal. It might be a commitment to growth, to healing, to creating something beautiful, or to showing up in your community with love and courage. Whatever it is, it must come from within. It must be rooted in your values, not someone else's expectations. That's the difference between direction and distraction. One pulls you inward, the other pushes you outward, away from yourself. Clarity of purpose doesn't mean you have every step figured out. It means you are anchored. You know the why behind your actions, and that why becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, your time, your energy. It helps you say no with conviction and yes with confidence. It quiets the noise, the opinions, the temptations to constantly prove yourself, because you no longer need approval when you're aligned with your truth. Living with purpose isn't about striving, it's about remembering who you are, what you care about, and what you're here to do. That clarity doesn't just help you focus, it frees you. It pulls you out of fear and into intention. It reminds you that your time and attention are sacred, and that to honor them is not just wise, it is a radical act of self-respect. Mindful presence is the art of being fully awake to the moment you are in. It's not just about paying attention, it's about belonging to the now without pulling yourself into the past or projecting yourself into the future. In a world that constantly demands your attention, being present is a form of quiet rebellion. It means choosing to engage with life deeply rather than skimming the surface in distraction. When you are present, even the simplest task becomes meaningful. You begin to notice things. Your breath, the texture of a thought, the way sunlight spills across your workspace. This level of awareness builds an inner stillness that distractions can't penetrate. You become less reactive, more intentional. Your mind stops rushing to the next thing and instead begins to value the realness of the current moment. Presence is powerful because it returns your agency. So often, we go through our days on autopilot, scrolling, multitasking, checking boxes without ever truly experiencing what we're doing. But mindful presence calls you back. It invites you to slow down, to feel, to choose. It says you are not your schedule. You are not your deadlines. You are here and this moment matters. To cultivate presence, you don't need silence or solitude, you need awareness. Begin by noticing your thoughts without judgment. Notice where your attention goes when you're tired, anxious, or bored. Then gently, lovingly guide it back. Presence is not perfection, it's practice. It's the ongoing return to what is real and true. Over time, presence becomes a form of strength, a way of showing up, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And when you live this way, you begin to see focus not as something you chase, but as something you become. Protecting your environment is one of the most powerful yet underestimated ways to safeguard your focus. The spaces you inhabit, the people you surround yourself with, the energy you allow into your life, they all shape your state of mind far more than you might realize. Your environment is not just where you live or work, it's the emotional and psychological atmosphere you exist in every day. If that atmosphere is cluttered, chaotic, or filled with negative influences, staying focused becomes a battle you didn't even choose to fight. Everything around you either supports your clarity or pulls you away from it. The music you listen to, the conversations you entertain, the notifications you allow, all of it has the potential to either uplift or distract. Creating an environment that honors your purpose means being intentional about what you let in and what you keep out. It means organizing your space so your mind doesn't have to work against mess and confusion. It means curating your digital world with the same care you would use to decorate a sacred space because your attention is sacred. The people in your life are a central part of your environment too. Choose relationships that nourish you, not ones that drain your focus with judgment, drama, or constant comparison. Be around those who respect your boundaries, who value your growth, who remind you of your goals when you forget them yourself. Energy is contagious. Protect yours fiercely. This is not about control or perfection. It's about creating space that allows you to thrive. A protected environment gives you room to breathe, to think, to dream, and most importantly, to act with intention. Because when your environment is aligned with your values, focus stops being something you have to force and starts being the natural rhythm of your life. Embracing discipline with compassion means holding yourself accountable while still being kind to yourself in the process. Discipline is often misunderstood as rigidity or punishment, but in its truest form, it is a profound act of self-love. It's the decision to show up for your goals, your dreams, and your higher self, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. But when discipline is rooted in fear, shame, or perfectionism, it becomes toxic. It disconnects you from joy and turns your journey into a burden rather than a blessing. To stay focused, you need discipline, but not the kind that scolds you when you fall short. You need the kind that reminds you, gently but firmly, of who you are and what you're capable of. This is where compassion comes in. Compassion allows room for mistakes, rest, and humanity. It recognizes that growth is not linear and that true change comes not from punishing yourself for slipping, but from choosing to begin again. There'll be days when you miss the mark, when you get distracted, when motivation runs low. In those moments, the voice you use to speak to yourself matters. Will it be cruel or courageous? Will it berate you? Or will it help you rise? Discipline with compassion doesn't excuse procrastination, but it refuses to define you by it. It allows you to learn from your patterns without becoming imprisoned by them. This balance is where real strength lies, not in relentless self control, but in conscious commitment. The kind of commitment that comes from respecting your time, your potential, and your purpose. Compassion doesn't make discipline weaker, it makes it sustainable because when you treat yourself with dignity, focus becomes a relationship, not a rule, and that relationship can carry you farther than any short burst of willpower ever could. Saying no to noise is about reclaiming your attention from the countless things that do not deserve it. Noise comes in many forms: constant notifications, unsolicited opinions, social pressure, fear based urgency, endless comparisons. It surrounds us, whispers to us, even disguises itself as opportunity. But if you're not careful, it will drown out your inner voice. And that voice, the one rooted in clarity and truth, is the only one that can lead you toward what truly matters. To say no to noise is not to reject the world, but to choose depth over distraction. It is a radical act of presence in a culture obsessed with more speed, more visibility, more approval. Noise thrives on your need to be everywhere. Do everything, please everyone, but focus demands boundaries. It requires you to be selective with your time, protective of your peace, and unapologetic about what you won't entertain. It starts with asking yourself, does this deserve space in my mind? Does it align with my purpose? Or is it pulling me away from it? When you pause long enough to ask these questions, you begin to notice how much of your mental and emotional energy is spent reacting instead of creating, consuming instead of becoming. Saying no to noise doesn't mean living in isolation. It means cultivating stillness amidst chaos. It means turning down the volume on the outside world so you can hear what's happening within. Because the truth is, distraction doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it looks like staying busy with things that look important but aren't essential. Protect your inner space. Not everything requires your reaction, your presence, your explanation. Silence can be sacred. Stillness can be strength. And every time you say no to noise, you are saying yes to focus, to intention, to your highest self. Digital boundaries are no longer optional, they are essential. In a world where our devices are constantly buzzing, pinging, and pulling at our attention, learning to protect your digital space is an act of sovereignty. Technology is a tool, not a master, but when left unchecked, it becomes a constant source of distraction, comparison, and emotional fatigue. And without boundaries, focus becomes a daily uphill battle. We often reach for our phones without thinking, not because we need information, but because we're avoiding stillness. We scroll to escape discomfort, to fill silence, to feel connected. Yet, ironically, it often leaves us feeling more scattered, more disconnected from ourselves. The digital world thrives on your attention. It is designed to keep you hooked, not to keep you whole. Recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your time and mental clarity. Setting digital boundaries doesn't mean cutting yourself off. It means using technology intentionally. It means asking, why am I here? What am I looking for? Before opening an app, before responding to every notification, before checking your messages out of habit. You begin to engage with purpose instead of impulse. Turn off non-essential notifications, schedule screen-free time, set limits on how long you'll spend online, curate your feeds so they reflect your values, not your insecurities. Digital boundaries also include emotional limits, knowing when to log off from conversations that drain you, from content that triggers you, from information that overwhelms more than it empowers. Your peace is worth protecting. Your mind deserves space to breathe, to wander, to rest. When you build these boundaries, you don't lose connection. You deepen it. You become more present with the people and passions that matter. Focus isn't just about willpower, it's about environment, and your digital space is part of that environment. Guard it with intention. Use it with wisdom. Let it serve your life, not consume it. Rest is not a reward you earn after burning out. It is a right, a necessity, and a radical form of resistance in a world that glorifies exhaustion. We live in a culture that measures worth by productivity, that treats busyness as a badge of honor. But when you are on, constantly pushing, constantly available, you begin to forget that your value is not in what you produce, it's in who you are. Rest is to reclaim your humanity. It is to say, I am not a machine. I am not here to be consumed. It is to step out of the cycle of hustle and into the rhythm of restoration. True focus cannot exist without rest, because a tired mind can't think clearly, a restless body can't move intentionally, and a burnt out heart can't hold purpose with strength. Rest is not just sleep. Oh, sleep is sacred. It is also stillness. It is unplugging. It is moments of joy and nothingness, where you are not striving to be better, but simply allowing yourself to be. It is permission to pause, to breathe, to exist outside of deadlines and expectations. In those moments, your nervous system settles, your thoughts become clearer, your spirit realigns. And it's in that space, quiet, soft, unhurried, that focus is reborn. When you choose rest, you are rejecting the lie that your worth depends on constant output. You are saying no to burnout as a badge of honor and yes to sustainable growth. You are choosing to protect your energy so you can direct it with intention. Rest is not weakness, it is preparation. It is where resilience is built, where clarity returns, and where your focus finds its roots again. When you rest, you are not falling behind. You are rising in a different way, quietly, powerfully, and on your own terms. Focus is not found in chasing more, it's found in choosing less, but with greater purpose. In a world designed to divide your attention, the greatest power you hold is the ability to choose where you place it. Protect it like your peace depends on it, because it does. This isn't just about getting things done. It's about becoming someone who lives with intention, who honors their time, and who refuses to be ruled by noise. You are not here to be distracted. You are here to create, to connect, to lead, to rise. And that requires clarity. That requires courage. That requires the sacred discipline of showing up fully, day after day, for what matters most, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. So choose presence over pressure. Choose purpose over perfection. Choose silence over noise. And in doing so, become a force that no distraction can shake.